The bar is loaded to a weight you have failed 3 times. Your grip is set, your breathing is set, and in the 2 seconds before you pull, a voice arrives. It is not loud, it is reasonable. It says, you can always come back fresher next week. It says, nobody is watching, nobody will know. And here is the strange part. The lifters who make it through that moment are not the ones who shout over the voice, they are the ones who barely hear it. Something in them has made the negotiation impossible, and everyone around them can feel it. Some people call it intensity. Psychology calls it something else, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Today we break down what iron discipline actually is inside the nervous system, why pain tolerance is trainable, why the quit almost always happens before the failure, and the 5 mechanisms that separate the lifters who bend from the lifters who do not. None of the 5 require shouting, and none of them require a personality transplant. They require an understanding of the machinery and the willingness to operate it the way it was designed, which is slowly, deliberately, and without the drama the fitness industry keeps selling you as the price of entry. The drama is marketing. The machinery is quiet, and the quiet is where the strength actually lives. In the rep nobody films. In the session nobody scores. In the Tuesday nobody remembers. That is the iron. Everything else is the paint. Let us start with the study that reframed everything. In the early 2000s, researchers studying effort tolerance found something that should have ended the tough guy mythology forever. When athletes were put under progressive physical stress and asked to quit, they consistently quit at a threshold far below their actual physiological limit. The body has a central governor, a protective mechanism in the brain that fires the sensation of exhaustion long before the muscles are truly spent. The concept, developed by researchers including Tim Noakes in his work on endurance performance, concluded that the feeling of I cannot is a prediction, not a report. It is your brain estimating a safe margin and shutting you down early, the way a fuel gauge reads empty, while a reserve tank still sits untouched. Athletes under hypnosis, athletes given false feedback about their pace, athletes racing head-to-head, all demonstrate the same thing. The ceiling moves when the brain expects more room, and the ceiling holds when the brain expects danger. The strongest muscle in your body is the forecast. This changes the meaning of every hard set you have ever quit. You did not run out of strength, you ran out of permission. And permission is exactly what the disciplined lifter has learned to extend, one exposure at a time. Here is the analogy that makes it stick. Your nervous system is like an overprotective parent. It loves you, it wants you safe, and it will lock the door the second anything feels like danger. Iron discipline is not defeating the parent. It is the slow process of showing the parent, rep by rep, that you always come home. Each time you approach the edge and survive, the threshold moves. Not because you got stronger, because the prediction got updated. Now, the 5 mechanisms. 1. Voluntary hardship inoculation. In 1992, Robert Eisenberger published his work on learned industriousness, showing that effort followed by reward conditions the brain to value effort itself. The lifters who do extra when nobody requires it are not performing discipline, they are dosing it. Cold finishes, extra walks with the weight, the last set taken past comfort. Each dose raises the threshold at which the central governor fires. The pain does not decrease. Your tolerance for the prediction does. Treat 1 voluntary discomfort per day as a supplement. It generalizes to every lift you do. The generalization is the finding people miss. Eisenberger work showed the conditioning crosses domains, which means the cold shower is not about the shower. It is about the ceremony of choosing discomfort and surviving it, a rehearsal your nervous system logs as evidence. The lifters who finish every session with something hard are running that rehearsal daily, and on the day the bar is truly heavy, the evidence file is thick. The brain that has been paid for effort 1,000 times does not flinch at attempt 1001. Start small, start today, and be consistent about the inconsistency of the discomfort itself. Rotate the dose. The message is always the same. We do hard things here, and hard things pay. 2. Identity foreclosure. Researchers studying exercise identity, building on the definition from Anderson and Psychosh in 1994, found that behavior stops requiring negotiation when it becomes an expression of self. The lifter who says I am someone who trains does not debate the session, because the debate would require him to stop being who he is. Close the identity question early. Write the sentence. I am a lifter. Every session you complete is evidence, and evidence is what a courtroom runs on. You are not building a habit, you are building a verdict. The mechanics of this deserve a closer look, because identity is not a poster on the wall, it is a prediction engine. Every behavior you execute is a data point, and the self-concept is the summary statistic of those points. The lifter with 3 years of sessions behind him does not need motivation on a Tuesday because the Tuesday is a rounding error in a massive data set that all points one direction. The beginner does not have the data set, and this is why the first 90 days are the war. You are not fighting laziness, you are fighting a sample size. Every session is a vote, and the identity flips when the votes reach a number your brain can no longer dismiss. That number is closer than you think, and the only currency it accepts is repetition. 3. Process worship, outcome amnesia. The mirror is the most delayed feedback device in existence, and delayed feedback is poison for the conditioning machinery. The iron-disciplined lifter moves the goalposts to variables he controls today. Weight on the bar, reps completed, sessions attended this week. In the research on habit formation by Philippa Lally and her team in 2009, the people who reached automaticity were the ones with consistent, repeatable contexts. Not heroic sessions, repeatable ones. Score the process, ignore the mirror for 90 days, and let the scoreboard do what mirrors cannot. It pays daily. There is a second reason the outcome obsession is poison, and it is mathematical. Outcomes are noisy. Water, glycogen, sleep, and stress swing the scale and the mirror week to week, and a noisy signal is a signal your conditioning machinery cannot trust. Rewarding yourself for a number that randomizes is gambling, and gambling is not conditioning. The process variables, sessions attended, weight moved, are clean signals. They respond directly to the behavior, every time, without noise. When the payment matches the work exactly, the association forms fast. This is why the disciplined lifter seems mechanical about his logbook. He is not being anal. He is running a payment system his brain can actually audit, and audited systems are the ones that survive. 4. The arousal dial. Sports psychology has long distinguished between cognitive anxiety, the worry, and somatic arousal, the physical readiness. Untrained lifters experience the pounding heart and the shaking hands as fear. Trained lifters experience the identical signal as fuel. The reframe is not motivational. It is perceptual. The heartbeat is oxygen delivery. The shake is activation. When you relabel the symptoms before the heavy set, the central governor reads the state as readiness instead of emergency, and the threshold drops. Say it out loud if you have to. This is the engine running. The training floor is full of rituals that look like superstition and function as perception management. The slap on the thighs, the chalk clap, the same song before the same lift. Every ritual is an arousal dial set to a known position, and the consistency of the ritual is the consistency of the state. This is why elite lifters defend their warm-up sequence like scripture. They are not OCD. They are engineers of their own physiology, arriving at the bar in a state they have rehearsed 1,000 times, so that the only new variable under the weight is the weight itself. Build your sequence. Keep it boring. Boring is repeatable, and repeatable is the entire game. Perception is a variable, and variables can be set. The practical version is a 2-step protocol you run before every heavy attempt. Step 1. Name the sensation. Heart racing, hands shaking, breath short. Naming an emotion measurably reduces its intensity, a finding from affect labeling research, because language moves the processing from the alarm centers toward the regulatory ones. Step 2. Assign the performance meaning. This is the engine. This is readiness. The words sound trivial. The physiology is not. The central governor reads the whole body state when it decides whether to fire the exhaustion signal, and a body that has been verbally sorted into fuel is a body with a higher ceiling. The lifter who talks to himself under the bar is not unstable. He is running the protocol. 5. The unwatched contract. The final mechanism is the one nobody sells, because it cannot be filmed. It is what happens on the Tuesday nobody is impressed by, the 10th unremarkable week, the session you do at 5 in the morning because the alternative is breaking a promise to a person who is not watching. That person is you, and the contract you hold with yourself is the real barbell. Every kept promise thickens the wire. Every broken one, and every exception you negotiate in the moment, teaches your nervous system that the contract is decorative. Write the contract down. 1 non-negotiable session minimum 3 days a week, executed regardless of mood. Not because that session builds muscle, because that session builds the self that keeps contracts. The psychology here is old, and it is severe. William James, writing in the 19th century, described how every failure to act on a resolution weakens the pathway for the next one, and how the person who negotiates with himself in the moment teaches himself that negotiation always works. The modern self-regulation literature found the same pattern under a different name. Each exception is not an isolated event, it is a precedent, and precedents compound. The lifter who has never once broken the unwatched contract holds a position that almost cannot be attacked, because the precedent library has no counterexamples. The moment you realize the Tuesday session is not about the quads is the moment the whole system locks in. You are training the part of you that signs things and delivers. There is a finding from the muscle memory literature that belongs in every discussion of iron discipline. In work published by Christian Gunderson and colleagues, including the 2010 study on myonuclei, researchers found that the nuclei your muscle cells acquire through training survive the detraining. The muscle shrinks, the strength fades, but the cellular scaffolding remains, waiting. Which means the body itself is built on a version of iron discipline. It holds what was earned, through the layoffs, through the years, through the silence. The gains you built are still in there, patient as a reserve tank. The discipline you build works the same way. The sessions you are doing now, the boring ones, the unseen ones, are laying down scaffolding that time cannot take from you. Think about what that means for the quit. The lifter who trained for 2 years, stopped, and is staring at the gym door after 5 years away, is not starting over. The nuclei held the line. The identity is still in the vault. The first month back is a reopening, not a beginning, and the research says the regrowth is faster the second time. Discipline works identically. The 10 weeks you built before the layoff are not erased by the layoff. They are waiting under the atrophy, and the reactivation is quicker than the original construction. You have never actually lost what you trained. You have only paused its expression, and pauses end. So of the 5 mechanisms, which one is your missing piece? Hardship inoculation, identity foreclosure, process worship, the arousal dial, or the unwatched contract? Tell me in the comments and be specific, because I read them. And if you have been calling yourself weak for quitting sets you were never actually failing, I hope this reframes it. The governor lied to you, and governors can be retrained. You were never weak, you were early, and early is fixable, and the fix is boring, and boring is what builds people. Hit like if this landed, send it to the lifter who trains alone at 5 in the morning, and wonders whether it is counting. It is counting. It has always been counting. Subscribe for the next breakdown. Goodbye and see you next time.